My name is Denise Whitfield, 27 years old. The fork hovers halfway to my mouth, sweet potato casserole balanced on its tines, when my father's words slice through the cozy illusion of Thanksgiving. You're nothing but a leech. It's time for you to leave this house. The casserole suddenly looks strange, foreign. I set the fork back down slowly, as if careful not to break something fragile. Around the table, silence swells, thick enough to drown in. The antique clock ticks from the living room, each second loud, insistent, a reminder of time passing, of debts unspoken. That clock is mine. I paid to have its gears replaced when it stopped working last spring. The irony cuts deep. I search my mother's face for even the faintest flicker of recognition, some sign she disagrees, but Denise lowers her gaze and stabs at her untouched green beans. Beside her, my 17-year-old sister Tessa freezes mid-sip, eyes wide, glass trembling in her hand. It's not just the words that sting, it's the timing. Hours ago, I was elbow-deep in turkey, basting until the skin gleamed golden, whisking potatoes, layering pies, while the rest of them lounged with football humming on the TV. Just 20 minutes earlier, I'd shared the biggest news of my career, my promotion, the one I clawed toward for years. And now, steam rises from the food I prepared as my father declares me unwelcome. The bitter truth is almost comical. My name is on the electric bill that keeps these lights glowing, on the water bill that filled their glasses, on the receipts for every item on this table, and on the insurance statements covering Mom's appointments. I've been the quiet scaffolding holding this house together. Yet somehow, I am the burden. When Mom lost her job at the accounting firm 3 months ago, I didn't hesitate. I stepped in, no questions asked. Groceries, utilities, car insurance, even the co-payments for her doctor visits. Frank's part-time hours at the hardware store barely scraped the mortgage. The rest fell on me. Each account transferred into my name like a shackle, and with each new shackle, I noticed Dad's eyes harden. His voice became clipped. I remember overhearing him 2 weeks ago, his voice floating through the open kitchen window to Mr. Simmons next door. "It's not right," he said, leaning against the fence. "A man losing control of his own household. She acts like she owns the place now." I didn't realize until then that she was me. Now, at the head of the table, his jaws tight, hand gripping his fork so hard his knuckles pale. He waits for me to break, cry, plead, rage, something. Instead, I lift my fork again, shove the tasteless casserole into my mouth, chew, swallow. "Did you hear what I said?" His voice sharpens, as if volume could force my submission. "You need to be out by the weekend." My hands tremble faintly, not from fear but from a shift I can't yet name. I set the fork down, smooth the napkin beside my plate, and meet his gaze. "I understand perfectly." The words land without tremor, not defiance, not sorrow, something colder, calculated. His brow furrows, caught off guard by composure where he expected collapse. Silence expands again, and Mom fills it with a single line that snaps the pieces into place. "Denise," she says quietly, "you'll still pay the insurance this month, right? I've got that appointment Tuesday." And there it is. Not family, not daughter. Resource, wallet, insurance card. A walking lifeline until I'm replaced. I rise, gather my plate, Tessa's empty glass. "Of course, Mom. I'll take care of it before I go." In the kitchen, I rinse dishes under scalding water. Outside the window, my car waits in the driveway, the one thing in this life that belongs entirely to me. At least I'll have that. Behind me, Tessa's chair scrapes across the floor. She approaches, places her plate in the sink, and for the briefest moment her fingers graze my wrist. The smallest brush, a silent message. "I see you." It's the closest thing to support I've felt in months. Hours later, the digital clock on my nightstand blinks 1:18 a.m. as I fold another sweater into my suitcase. The house is quiet, but sleep refuses me. Dad's words keep circling like vultures, replaying each syllable. My movements are mechanical. Shirts, pants, toiletries. Then my hand stills over a drawer of paperwork. Insurance statements, utility bills, grocery receipts. The bones of sacrifice. As I shuffle the stack, something unexpected slips free. A paper bank statement. Strange. We switched to electronic months ago. My brows knit. Beneath it, more. A neat pile of envelopes, all with Frank's name, 3 months' worth. Each line reveals an account I've never seen before, its balance growing steadily. 4,000 in July, 5 in August, almost 7 now. My stomach twists. While I drained my savings to keep this family afloat, he's been building his own. My pulse quickens as I shuffle faster, uncovering a glossy boat dealer brochure, Frank's handwriting scrawled in blue ink. Down payment, $5,500. Scheduled delivery after Thanksgiving. A fishing boat, paid for with the money I sacrificed meals and sleep to provide. On the nightstand, I noticed something else, a notepad with scrawled lists. Dates, utilities, my name followed by question marks. Underlined, after bills paid. The betrayal crystallizes. They planned this, waited until I covered November's expenses, then cut me loose. A knock jolts me, soft against the door. It creaks open and Tessa slips in, eyes wide at the sight of my open suitcase. "You're really leaving?" Her voice trembles, torn between fear and hope. "Dad didn't give me much choice," I murmur, tucking the bank statements into my purse. She bites her lip. "Mom said they need your room for storage, for when Dad's boat comes." The words land like a slap. "Boat?" "The one he put the deposit on last month." She hesitates, lowering her voice. "I heard them planning weeks ago. How they'd wait until you paid the bills." "You knew?" The betrayal stretches wider. Her eyes brim. "I was scared. Dad said if anyone warned you, they'd be next." Her fear is raw, childlike. I can't hate her for surviving. "There's more," she whispers, glancing at the hallway. "Those medical appointments Mom's been having?" I nod, wary. "Last week she came home with her lips swollen, said the doctor told her no straws for 2 days. Tessa mimics our mother's eye roll. It wasn't a checkup, it was fillers." The room tilts. My insurance, my ramen nights, my skipped lunches, funded vanity injections. I pull up my banking app. $763.42. 3 months ago, over 9,000. "This is all I have left," I tell her. "If I'd stayed 1 more month, there'd be nothing." She swallows hard. "Dad said if you take furniture, he'll report you for theft, even the stuff you bought." I laugh bitterly. Of course he did. My eyes flick to the desk I assembled, the fridge I bought, the laptop Tessa uses for school. "He already called the bank about getting your name off the utilities," she adds quietly. Time shrinks, pressing down. I pull a shoebox from under my bed, filled with dated receipts, stapled credit card statements, proof I've carried this house, proof I'm not crazy, proof of betrayal. As I sort them, Tessa's voice breaks. "Denise, what would you do if you were me? If standing up meant losing the only home you've ever known?" I meet her gaze, torn. The question hovers between us, unanswerable in its weight. What do you do when the people who should love you most only value what you provide? The house feels different after that night. Each creak in the floorboards, each sigh of the heater, carries the weight of secrets I can no longer ignore. I wake before dawn, suitcase half packed at the foot of my bed, and the hidden bank statements spread like an accusation across the comforter. My hands shake as I thumb through them again, though I already know the numbers by heart. July, $4,000. August, $5,000. November, almost $7,000. All in an account I never knew existed, his name alone at the top, each figure a nail in the coffin of whatever illusion of family I clung to. I shove the papers into a folder, slip it into my purse. Beside it rests the shoebox of receipts I started building when I realized survival in this house required proof. Every credit card slip stapled to statements, every appliance I bought after ours broke, every utility bill I paid to stop disconnection. Together, they're not just scraps of paper, they're my armor. By the time sunlight filters through the blinds, I'm at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee that tastes more like metal than warmth. My mother drifts in, robe tied loose, scrolling her phone. She doesn't look up, doesn't ask why I'm awake, only mutters, "Insurance payment clears today, right?" Her words hit me harder than any insult my father threw. Not, "Are you okay?" Not, "What are you planning?" Just insurance, just money. I sip the coffee to hide the tremor in my jaw. Later, I sit cross-legged on my bed, adding pages to the evidence pile, when the door creaks again. Tessa hovers there, eyes darting down the hall, as though expecting Dad's shadow to materialize. She closes the door softly and sits on the edge of my bed. I didn't know how to tell you, she blurts, voice hushed. Tell me what? That they planned it, the timing. Dad said to wait until you paid November's bills so nothing got cut off. He said it would make the transition smoother. Her face crumples on the word transition, as if even she knows how absurd it sounds. My stomach clenches. He wanted me bled dry before they threw me out. Tessa nods, biting her lip so hard it whitens. For a moment, I see her not as a sister, but as another trapped pawn, scared into silence. She fiddles with the hem of her sweatshirt before whispering, "And Mom, those doctor appointments you covered?" I lean forward. "What about them?" Her voice drops. "They weren't checkups. Last week she came home with bruising. She told Dad she couldn't drink through a straw for 2 days. It wasn't a doctor, it was fillers. The air leaves my lungs like I've been punched. Fillers. My insurance, my money, stretched thin while she injected vanity under her skin. I reach for my phone, open my banking app. The screen glares. $763.42 left. From over $9,000. I swallow hard, the number blurring before my eyes. "Tessa," I whisper, "if I'd stayed even one more month, there'd be nothing left." She nods miserably, tears slipping down her cheeks. "I wanted to warn you, but Dad said if I did, I'd be out too, and I didn't know where I'd go." The resentment rises like bile, but when I look at her trembling hands, I can't release it at her. She's 17, still under their roof, their rules, a child playing at survival. I close the banking app, slide the phone onto the nightstand. "You did what you thought you had to do." For a moment, silence drapes the room. Then she blurts, "He said if you tried to take anything, he'd report you for theft, even the stuff you bought." Of course, my desk, my bookshelf, the laptop she uses for school, all bought with my paychecks. In his world, ownership is whatever suits him. "He's already called the bank," she adds softly. "Tried to get your name off the utilities." Panic licks at the edges of my chest. They're moving faster than I thought. If they succeed, they could pin debts on me, or worse, cut off what's left of my credit. I push to my feet, start pulling more receipts from drawers, stacking them by date, by purchase, by account. My desk, the refrigerator, even the rug in the living room. Every item documented, every expense logged. Tessa watches, wide-eyed. "Why are you saving all that?" "Because someday," I say, forcing steadiness into my tone, "I might have to prove I wasn't the crazy one." Her eyes shimmer as if she wants to believe it's that simple, but she nods anyway. Hours later, as night cloaks the house again, I lie awake staring at the ceiling. My father's voice echoes in the dark. Leech. Out by the weekend. Only now, layered beneath it, I hear something else. His whispered plans about after the bills are paid, his laughter with Mr. Simmons about losing control, his scribbled notes about a boat. They've been plotting this exile not out of necessity, but out of convenience. I wasn't cast out for being a burden. I was cast out because I made myself indispensable, and they hated the mirror it held up to their failures. Beside me, the folder of evidence rests like a silent companion. Each receipt, each bill, each transfer a breadcrumb trail leading back to truth. But truth alone doesn't guarantee safety. I'll need more than proof. I'll need distance. And I'll need to move fast before they strip away the last scraps of independence I have left. By morning, my decision is clear. I can't afford confrontation. Not yet. To stay here another weekend would be to hand them my last fragments of stability. So I begin quietly dismantling the invisible web that ties me to this house. I sit on my bed with my laptop propped against my knees, eyes burning from lack of sleep, and start with the basics. Utilities. One by one, I log into each account and cancel the automatic payments. Electricity, water, internet, all severed with a few keystrokes. The representative on the phone for the internet company actually laughs when I explain why. Voluntarily removing yourself from responsibility? Smart move. Her words sting with irony, but I thank her anyway. Next, I change passwords. Banking, email, medical portals, anything they could use against me. Each new passphrase feels like a small lock sliding into place, shutting out the grasping hands that once felt entitled to everything I owned. By mid-afternoon, my room looks like a battlefield after retreat. Boxes stacked against the wall, suitcase zipped, bed stripped bare. I walk the house quietly, touching each object I've kept alive. Fridge humming because of me, router blinking because of me, heat running because of me. It all feels less like a home and more like a crime scene, one I've financed with my own blood. When I finally close the trunk of my car, the weight that presses on my chest isn't grief. It's something closer to freedom, jagged and terrifying. Drew greets me at her apartment with a sympathetic smile and an arm that pulls me into safety. Her living room is cramped, her pull-out couch lumpy, but it's the softest place I've landed in months. We stack my boxes against the wall, my suitcase tucked neatly underneath, my life reduced to what can be carried in a single trip. Operation Financial Freedom? Drew teases, as she kicks off her shoes, dropping her hospital bag by the door. Almost done, I mutter, holding up a notebook scrawled with account numbers and notes. I've cut myself out of everything I could think of. Now they'll have to figure out their own mess. For the first time, I let myself collapse on her couch. The exhaustion hits in waves, but beneath it is a hum of something else, anticipation. The start of something new, maybe. It doesn't last long. My phone buzzes, and Aunt Phyllis's voice crackles through the speaker, sharp and judgmental. Honestly, Denise, I never thought you'd abandon your parents when they needed you most. I grip the phone tighter, jaw clenching. Did Dad mention he kicked me out? He said you left them high and dry after a disagreement. Her sigh is heavy, rehearsed. There's a family meeting this weekend at my house. We're going to discuss your behavior. Of course, a tribunal, a public stage for them to rewrite the script. I almost laugh. I'm sure you are, I say, and end the call before her scolding can sink deeper. By evening, my phone is littered with missed calls and texts from cousins, aunts, distant relatives, all armed with my parents' version of events. My throat tightens with each notification, but I force myself not to respond. When Drew returns with takeout, she finds me surrounded by paperwork on the floor, receipts and bank statements forming a chaotic fortress. She raises an eyebrow. Building your case? Building my wall, I correct softly. Max, her roommate, bursts in not long after, golden retriever bounding ahead of him. The dog, Baxter, nearly knocks me off balance as he drops a slobbery tennis ball at my feet. He thinks you need this more than he does, Max says, half joking. Something unexpected bubbles up in my chest. A laugh. My first real one in days. It feels foreign, almost dangerous, but it also feels like air. Baxter nudges my hand again, and this time I toss the ball. He sprints after it with a joy so unfiltered it stings my eyes. The contrast is jarring. In one home, I was a wallet, a scapegoat, a leech. In this one, I am simply Denise. That night, Drew hovers as I set up fraud alerts on my accounts. I noticed some suspicious login attempts, she points out, tapping my laptop screen. Could be them. Her words lodge like a stone in my chest. They're already trying. The last barrier between me and nothing could crumble if I slip for even a moment. I nod, forcing calm into my voice. Then I'll build stronger walls. As the clock ticks past midnight, I lie awake on the pull-out couch, Baxter snoring softly on the floor nearby. The thought gnaws at me. Evidence and receipts may protect me in court, but they won't stop the storm when it comes pounding at the door. And deep down, I know it's coming. The days blur together, a whirlwind of phone calls and clipped conversations with customer service reps. My voice takes on a practiced steadiness. Remove my name, close the account, flag for fraud. Each confirmation is another chain unhooked from my ankles. But even as I cut ties, I can feel their hands reaching. The alerts begin subtly. A ping from my bank. Password reset attempt failed. Then another. Then 3 in one afternoon, all traced back to my parents' IP address. I sit cross-legged on Drew's couch, phone trembling in my grip, as if I can hold the tide back with sheer will. Let them try, Drew says firmly, leaning over my shoulder. You've got locks in place now. But her words can't calm the gnawing dread. Locks can splinter. Doors can break. That dread materializes 3 nights later. It starts as a vibration in the floor, rhythmic and violent. Then the sound, pounding fists, rattling hinges. I freeze mid-sentence, laptop open on my knees, while Drew springs up from the table. Denise! My father's voice bellows through the wood, thick with rage. Open this door right now! The pounding intensifies. Baxter, startled, growls low in his throat. My pulse spikes. I rise on shaky legs, drawn toward the door, like a moth to fire. Through the peephole, I see his face, flushed, contorted, veins pulsing at his temple. The same expression I've seen aimed at telemarketers, debt collectors, now turned fully on me. You think you can abandon your family? Destroy our lives? His boot slams against the doorframe, the wood groaning in protest. Across the hall, Mrs. Perkins' door creaks open. The retired widow peers out, face pale but voice firm. Young man, I've called building security. Stop this at once. Mind your own business, lady, he snaps, spittle catching the hallway light. Her door slams shut. My breath comes shallow. Drew grips my wrist, whispers, call 911, now. My fingers barely work, but I dial. The dispatcher's calm voice is a lifeline as I describe the scene. Pounding, threats, attempted forced entry. Each blow of his fist reverberates through my ribcage. Then, an authoritative bark from the hall. Sir, step away from the door. Through the peephole, I glimpse the building's security guard advancing, hand on his radio. This is my daughter's place, Dad growls, though his words tremble under the weight of authority. I have every right. No right to damage property or disturb residents, the guard replies. Police are en route. The hallway fills with blue and red strobes a minute later. My knees almost buckle with relief as two officers flank him, cuffing his wrists while he thrashes, shouting that I'm the one destroying the family. His voice echoes, shrill, even as they drag him toward the elevator. Silence settles after they're gone, broken only by my shallow breathing. Drew squeezes my shoulder, grounding me. Baxter nudges his wet nose into my palm. When Officer Rodriguez returns for my statement, clipboard in hand, I find myself recounting everything with eerie precision. The bills I paid, the hidden accounts, the attempted hacks, tonight's assault. Each fact lands like a hammer on nails, constructing a case against the man who once ruled our dinner table with a glance. Rodriguez studies me, then asks the question that feels heavier than the handcuffs they snapped onto my father. Would you like to press charges for attempted break-in? The air still hums with echoes of fists on wood. My hands tremble, but my voice does not. Yes, and I want to file for a restraining order. He nods, scribbling. We'll walk you through the process. Later, after the sirens fade, the apartment feels unnervingly still, but my phone vibrates, cutting the silence. A text from Tessa, the letters small and hurried. They're going to get something of yours. My blood runs cold. The text from Tessa still glows on my screen, her words vibrating in my bones. They're going to get something of yours. I barely have time to process before another message pops up. This one isn't from her. It's from my mother. Had to pawn your laptop and camera to cover the electric bill you left us with. Parkway Pawn on 4th Street. You owe me $300 plus interest. The audacity nearly makes me laugh. Not an apology, not an explanation, just a demand. As if my belongings, worth thousands, are nothing more than collateral in her twisted accounting system. Drew leans over my shoulder, reads the text, and shakes her head. She actually thinks you'll pay her back for pawning your own stuff. My stomach twists. That laptop held years of work files, personal journals, fragments of myself. The camera was a gift I bought myself after my first promotion, both reduced to $300, and the smug entitlement of a woman who never learned to tell the difference between help and possession. I don't waste time. I pull the folder from my bag, flipping through until I find the receipts, the serial numbers I'd carefully logged away. My diligence has finally become a weapon. When Officer Williams arrives that evening, she listens intently, jotting notes as I hand over the documentation. Pawning someone else's property is a criminal offense, she explains matter-of-factly. With these receipts and serials, we can contact the shop and recover them. The relief is sharp, almost dizzying. For months, paper trails have been the chains that bound me, proof of how much I spent, how much I gave. Now they're turning into blades. But victory is fleeting. My phone buzzes again, this time a call. I hesitate before answering. Denise? My mother's voice trembles, softer now, rehearsed. I've been thinking, maybe we can make a compromise. I stay silent. The background hum of the TV seeps through. Some game show rerun I know by heart, the one that played in our living room every weeknight. If you drop that ridiculous theft report, you can come back home, she continues. Your room is still exactly as you left it. We'll let you live here again, of course. The rehearsed tone, the word let, makes bile rise in my throat. I still say nothing. Her voice shifts, coating itself in saccharine concern. And, Denise, we should talk about your state of mind. Frank and I are worried. You've been so unstable lately. People would understand if you're having some kind of breakdown. But if you keep insisting on these wild accusations, well, I don't know how the family will take it. The threat hangs between us, thinly veiled. Drop the charges or be branded unstable. I inhale slowly, letting the silence stretch until it hurts. Then, steady, I reply. I have copies of every bill I've paid, bank statements showing transfers to your account, text messages about those fillers you pretended were medical necessities. Would you like me to present all of that as evidence? The line goes quiet. For a moment, I think she's hung up. Then a shaky exhale, and the call cuts. Drew watches me set the phone down carefully, like it's a live wire. Her eyes search mine. They're cornered, she says softly. Maybe, but cornered animals lash hardest. That night, as I sit cross-legged on the couch, I notice something gnawing at me. The theft, the threats, the lies. None of it feels spontaneous anymore. It feels patterned. Like this has been their design all along, to drain me, discard me, and when I resisted, destroy me. And for the first time, I wonder, how deep does the scheme run? The knock at Drew's apartment door comes right on time, though my pulse still jumps when I hear it. Officer Williams stands there in uniform, clipboard tucked under one arm. "Ready?" she asks, voice steady but kind. "Ready." The word feels foreign, but I nod anyway. The drive back to my parents' house is quiet, the cruiser's presence behind me like a protective shadow. Each turn of the wheel brings old memories to the surface, the smell of Sunday dinners, the echo of Dad's voice barking orders, the way the windows fogged in winter when Mom baked bread. Yet none of those memories feel like home anymore. They feel like exhibits in a trial, evidence that once I belonged here. When we pull into the driveway, curtains twitch on both sides of the street. Neighbors pretending to water plants linger longer than necessary. I can feel their eyes tracking every step as I walk toward the door. For once, I don't bow under their gaze. Let them watch. Let them see what family really means here. Mom answers with a practiced smile that falters the instant she sees the officer behind me. "Denise," she says, voice syrupy, "we weren't expecting you." "I'm here to collect my things," I reply, my tone clipped, official. Officer Williams steps forward, her presence filling the doorway. "Mrs. Whitfield, I'll be accompanying your daughter as she retrieves her belongings. She has receipts documenting ownership." The word receipts makes Mom flinch, though she quickly masks it with indignation. That furniture belongs to the family. She can't just strip the house bare. I unzip my folder, pull out a stack of papers, and hold them out for the officer. Utilities, groceries, medical bills, appliances. Every cent I put into this house since Mom lost her job. Williams flips through, eyebrows arching. "You paid for all of this yourself?" "Yes," I say, steady now, "for 6 months." Silence swells in the hall. Mom opens her mouth, then closes it. Her eyes flicker, calculating, before she turns and retreats down the hall without another word. In my old bedroom, the air smells faintly of dust and lavender detergent. The walls feel closer than they once did, the space smaller, almost suffocating. I move methodically, packing clothes, books, framed photos that feel less like memories and more like artifacts. Each item I place in the box is punctuated by the scratch of William's pen on her clipboard, documenting, confirming. When I hoist the last box toward the door, I catch movement through the window. A car rolling slowly up the street, my car. The second one I left parked at Drew's, the spare key long forgotten. My father steps out, jangling the keys in his hand like a trophy. His expression is triumphant, his stride purposeful. My stomach drops. "We need to discuss what you owe us before you take this too," he declares, gesturing at the car I'm about to drive away in. I set the box down, pull the title from my folder, and hold it up, the paper trembling slightly in my fingers. "This is the title, and this," I flip to the registration, "both in my name." Officer Williams steps between us. "Sir, the vehicle is legally registered to your daughter. Hand over the keys." Color drains from his face, but his grip tightens. "I paid for her braces, for her college. 18 years. "The keys, Mr. Whitfield," Williams interrupts firmly. She extends her hand, unflinching. For a long moment his jaw clenches, veins pulsing at his temple. Then, slowly, his fingers uncurl. The keys jingle softly as they drop into her palm. She passes them to me, her expression unreadable. I close my hand around them, steady now. For the first time, my father looks small, diminished. "Come near me or my property again," I say, voice even, "and I'll file for a restraining order." I slide into the driver's seat, adjust the mirror. In the reflection, I see neighbors lining their porches, some with phones out, others whispering. Witnesses to the unraveling. On the porch, Tessa hovers in the doorway, her hand half raised in a wave. Her eyes shimmer with sorrow and something else. Admiration, maybe. As I turn the key and pull away from the curb, my phone buzzes, a message from her. They're blaming me now. What do I do? The light ahead turns red. Cars honk behind me when I don't move. I stare at the screen, heart pounding, knowing the cycle is already looking for its next victim. Sunlight filters through gauzy curtains in my apartment, casting soft patterns across the teal accent wall I painted last month. 3 months have passed since I pulled away from that house, neighbors whispering behind twitching curtains, my father's keys slipping from his hand into Officer Williams. 3 months since I stopped being their lifeline. The difference is in the details. My desk now holds neatly stacked envelopes, electricity, internet, renter's insurance, all in my name, all modest, all paid on time. No hidden debts, no last-minute panic. My bank account balance grows steadily. The emergency fund I once bled out, now regaining strength dollar by dollar. It isn't much, but it's mine. For the first time, mine feels like enough. Last weekend, I stood on a step stool and painted that wall a deep ocean teal. No one told me I'd regret the color. No one sighed about better options. The freedom to make small, impulsive choices is intoxicating. Now, on Thanksgiving Day, my dining table is set with mismatched plates and secondhand silverware. The turkey is smaller than last year's, but golden. Perfect. Drew and Max lounge nearby, teasing each other as they string twinkle lights across the window. And then there's Tessa, hovering uncertainly near the kitchen counter, her presence both familiar and foreign. Her hair is longer, her eyes sharper. Though she hasn't grown an inch, she seems taller somehow, carrying herself differently, like someone who's seen the cracks in her world and decided not to fall through them. "Can I help with anything?" she asks, voice tentative, as if waiting for permission. "Your company is enough," I reply, surprising myself with the ease of it. A year ago, every word I spoke at a family dinner carried the weight of expectation, of financial tallies and hidden resentments. Now the only thing required of her is to be here. When the dishes are finally set, Drew raises her glass. To found family and boundaries worth keeping. Max clinks his glass to hers. Tessa lifts hers slowly, almost reverently, as though she's tasting the meaning in those words. We eat, we laugh, and for a few hours, I forget the gnawing ache of betrayal. Forget the nights of ramen dinners, funding my mother's fillers. Forget the pounding fists on Drew's apartment door. Later, when Tessa and I sort through scholarship applications at my kitchen counter, the past creeps back in. She twirls her pen, expression guarded. "They lost the house last month," she says quietly. I pause mid-highlight, scanning her face. Dad's still blaming the bank, the economy, everyone but himself. They're staying with Uncle Rick now, but he's already dropping hints about them finding their own place. I nod slowly, not surprised. Without my paychecks, without the web of accounts in my name, their house of cards couldn't stand. "They still blame you," Tessa adds, her pen tapping against the application. "Say everything fell apart because you left. But honestly?" She looks up, eyes clear. "They were just putting off the inevitable. Your money only delayed it." Her words land with both sting and relief. On the bookshelf behind us sits a neat stack of unopened envelopes, all with my parents' return address. 5 in total, collected over the last 2 months. Each one a tether I've refused to pick up. Boundaries mean silence sometimes. But some nights I sit staring at them, wondering what they contain. Accusations? Pleas? Lies wrapped in apologies? This time, one envelope stands out. Thick paper, certified mail, stamped in bold red. Time sensitive. I trace the edges with my fingertip, a pulse quickening in my throat. Boundaries are meant to protect, but sometimes they hide monsters waiting to be unsealed. The certified envelope sits on my counter for 2 days before I open it. Each time I walk past, my hand hovers, then retreats, as though the paper itself might burn. When I finally tear it open, the smell of ink and bureaucracy spills out. Inside is a legal notice. My parents have tried to reattach my name to debts they've accumulated, utilities, a line of credit I never authorized. Alongside the notice is a folded sheet of lined paper, my mother's handwriting. Denise, we didn't want to do this, but you've left us no choice. If you'd just come back home, if you'd just stop fighting us, none of this would be necessary. You know we love you, but you need help. Everyone sees you're unstable. We're trying to protect you from yourself. The mixture of manipulation and mock affection makes bile rise in my throat. Love weaponized into a leash. Protection twisted into control. I slide the paper back into the envelope, press it flat against the counter. Later that evening, Tessa calls from her dorm room. Her voice crackles through the line, steadier than I expect. They showed up here last night, she says. Wanted to talk about you, about how you're ruining the family. I told them I wasn't part of their games anymore. Pride swells in me, but so does fear. They're cornered animals now, lashing at whatever they can reach. What if they don't stop? She asks quietly. What if they come for me the way they came for you? I sit at my kitchen table, staring at the pile of envelopes, at the teal wall that has become my shield. And then I do something I never thought I'd do. I write my own terms. Not a letter of apology, not an olive branch. A contract of survival. Contact will be limited, I write, and only through written messages. No financial entanglements, no shared accounts, no loans, no guilt payments disguised as obligations. Any requests for help must come with documentation, and only if they cannot weaponize it later. And even then, I decide, not them. I fold the page carefully, slide it into an envelope addressed to my parents, not to invite reconciliation, to mark a boundary carved in stone, to prove, to them, to myself, that love without respect isn't love at all. When Tessa visits the next weekend, I show her the letter. She reads it twice, her brow furrowed, then nods. It's not punishment, she says softly. It's protection. We sit together at the kitchen counter, sorting through her financial aid paperwork, her future unfolding like the clean pages of a book I wish I'd had at her age. The quiet hum of my apartment feels almost safe, until my phone buzzes. An unknown number, a single message. I have information about the account your father opened. My breath hitches. For a long moment, I just stare at the screen, the words glowing like a trap. Information could mean closure, or another snare. I set the phone down carefully, heart pounding, and exhale. Not today. For the first time, I choose silence, not as surrender, but as power.